All right.
I believe we're live, Adrian Hanks.
I think we are absolutely alive.
We are alive and we are live. And here we go. Can you hear the music? You can.
It's a beautiful piece of calm music on Freedom Friday, my friend.
Right. There we go. Okay, so we're getting set up here as I fade out the music.
That's it, man.
Produce studio.
Getting used to this television appearance.
Okay, and are you getting any feedback from me? I just want to make sure we're set up properly here.
All clear, Matt, or hunky-dory.
All righty then. Well, Mr. Adrian Hanks, welcome. Oh, God, he's starting already. Really? Really? Okay, so we have some major announcements for the beginning of the show. First is that, and you will hear someone's voice is not working that well today. And
that might be me, Tommy.
Right. Someone got a little worked up last night, a little excited, and it went quiet, I got to say, though, through the fourth quarter. It was somewhat quiet because the Saints were very much under threat. The Gold Coast Suns almost robbed victory from the jaws of St Kilda, who did win. Went to second on the table. Congratulations. But I'm very proud of my Gold Coasters, the Gold Coast Suns, mate.
Yeah, you put up a good show. Obviously, at the end of the day, you weren't good enough, but you did put up a good fight.
Well, there were a couple of dubious decisions. Of course, that's my mouth, literally every time. But look, and the other announcement is that I have changed my colours.
Oh, no, Matt.
And it was difficult last night. I felt I was being disloyal or like unfaithful. Not that I ever have been, putting that on record. But I felt like I was, like being with another woman or something, because my Crows, after 30-something years, I'd finally gone, you know what? That's it. I now live on the Gold Coast. Unlike some, I decided that I would support the local team and go the GC. And I bought, look at this.
Well, Tommy, the news is the Saints are local now because they're staying up in Noosa because of the COVID. So the Saints are just as local as the Suns at the moment.
Oh, my God.
And the Geelong team are just like living 10 minutes from where I live.
Right. Go and get that Ablett guy. Yeah.
In fact, we've got all the Victorian AFL teams staying on the Goldie at the moment.
Isn't that amazing?
Or in Queensland, yeah.
Big chunk, 9 or 10 of them are here in Queensland. And of course,
with their partners, with their wives, with their families, with their kids.
Isn't that awesome?
So there's hundreds of Victorians, have invaded this beautiful
land. They were let through the fence that
and we've become the AFL capital of Australia.
We've become the sporting capital of Australia because I think all of them are coming our way from around the country at the moment. So, Miss Palaszczuk is giving herself a big pat on the back for being very stringent. I dare say this will be her Gulf War re-election, and many people will be disappointed with that. And, work out between the lines what my thoughts are. But there you go. Everybody needs a war to re-elect, don't they? And hopefully some don't take that strategy that could be a lot more threatening to life.
Absolutely. So, Tommy G, for today, my friend, Freedom Friday, how are you going to tie this in as the TV, Cap TV presenter today, tuning in, asking out some questions? How are you going to tie in AFL, RQ, and spirituality?
I think you just did.
How are you going to ask me those questions?
Yeah. Okay. So, I like the way you kind of give me the hard ones on a Monday. And how do I end up with it also on the Friday when I'm kind of like interviewing you? But I'm fine to set it up. I'll let the creative mind go to work on this.
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Bring it on, baby. Yeah, right. Okay. It seems like I'm going to be doing most of the talking since someone, got a little carried away yesterday. But we're talking AFL. We're talking relationship quotient.
Yeah.
And we are talking, which other moving piece do we have there?
The spiritualogical, my friend.
The spiritualogical, your area of expertise. Yeah. Holy cow. Batman. All right. So here we go. Let's use last night's game as a representation, right, of the macro corporate world and the world in general on relationships and teams for the RQ piece. And maybe we look at things like, let's look at the AFL and the game perhaps yesterday and maybe some pieces of that, not too many because it could hurt, on, where that comes into the spiritualogical. This is a sporting team. They don't do spiritualogical.
Well, they are called the Saints, so it's pretty spiritual.
Oh, nailed it. Geez, you were waiting to get that one out. Spiritualogical, RQ, and AFL. There it is. There it is. Come on, let's mix it up. You're going to be doing the work here to pull this together. I'm just going to ask the questions. And I got to think of what the hell they're going to be. So, on the fly.
Yeah. I thought you might have been up all night. You're preparing the questions for me.
The subconscious is working its little bat off right now in the sweat room, the media office in the back of my head. So when we're talking about relationship quotient, let's just do a revisit on what we're talking about there. Let's then bring that to the spiritualogical, and let's play that out in an AFL game and perhaps last night's.
Yep, absolutely. So in terms of, let's just get some clarity around RQ, relationship quotient, and that and the intelligence, because we're talking about the IQ, EQ, RQ, SQ, which really is about intelligence. We're looking at how do we bring some relationship intelligence into life, into the workplace.
That's different from IQ.
Yeah, well, in a sense, the intellectual intelligence is more around the rational aspect of life and getting the what we call intelligence from that rational perspective, putting everything in the box, getting everything neat and orderly, and understanding it from a logical IQ perspective. Most of the IQ tests are very left brain testing mechanism, not much right brain in there. That comes more into the emotional intelligence, or what I call the creative intelligence. And then when we move into the relationship intelligence, for me, that's about how do I relate with myself? How do I relate with other human beings? But also on a deeper level, Tommy, for that relationship intelligence, how do I relate outside of myself into the spiritual? How can I relate to the spiritual connection as well? So IQ for me goes from self, others, and then beyond human self into spiritual intelligence as well. Because there is a relationship, let's start with the almighty relationship intelligence that most of the people on the planet would understand. And I'm going to use the word God, just as a generality. So people say they have a connection to God. So there's a relationship to God, through prayer, through communication. And on some level, that's got to be intelligent. We have to bring in some intelligence. So most people on the planet have, at some point, I would imagine, tried to have a relationship with God through a relationship intelligence. And that's spiritual. That's not something tangible.
Okay.
So we have relationship intelligence on so many levels. And the thing is how do we use that intelligence? How do we use that intelligence? And if I bring that back to the footy, back to the AFL, in terms of that relationship, I mean, footy is a religion for many in some sense, like it's something, we believe in our teams, some of us more than others,
Yeah. Hey, the GC and I just met.
Yeah. Just starting your RQ, with the sons.
Yeah. Honeymoon phase.
Bit of sun worship, like that's
right, there we go.
Sun worship is the oldest religion on the planet.
Thank you.
Where it all started. I mean,
so
So you've just come full circle.
There we go. I mean, for the long game, and I like their colours. I like their.
I love the colours too. Yeah, so.
Yeah,
As I said to Eileen last night, they're my second team, but only privately, not publicly.
Behind closed doors. You must have some interesting clothing.
Yeah. So coming back to the footy in terms of a relationship, relationship intelligence. Watching those men run onto that field and the way they relate to each other on the field, also the relationship to the coach or coaches, the relationship to the fans, all that has to be done in an intelligent way,
right?
Because the end game is to win.
Right.
The end game is to win. Like, they go and have fun and they have a bit of a team connection, but the end game is we're going to win this game. So the intelligence factor has got to focus. So when we bring in relationship education, intelligence, for me, it's about what is the end game of my relationship to myself or to another or to God or to spirit. So what am I actually after? What's my wish around that?
Right.
Okay. And in terms of AFL, the wish is to win.
Just to win.
Yeah.
Right. And to do that, we got some bit of feedback or something coming back. I don't know from your side or whatever, but or maybe it's mine. But to then look at the fact that it's like there's no I in team, and it's to do with how the team relationships are going, and the one that works best together as a team does achieve that win at the end of the day, or has the best chance, at least, of winning against the external odds.
Yeah. And of course, one individual can stand out in that team. Like last night, young Butler kicked 5 goals.
Right.
He stood out. He was put on the shoulders at the end of the game, and
Rankin did a pretty good job too. Remember that kick that you and I saw? That was a freak kick.
He did a good goal, but he didn't kick 5, did he? Like at the end of the day.
That started something that you guys almost lost the game on. But it's funny how that can happen too in relationships. All right, go on.
So as an individual, but he was still a team member. The team was still working in a relationship way, because everybody had their position, everybody had their instructions, everybody had the team energy to take the Saints forward for that mighty win.
Right.
Yeah. So there was a real understanding, and intelligence for me is understanding. If you have to trade the name intelligence, it's about how am I intelligent with myself? Well, I understand myself. How am I intelligent with my fellow human being? It's because I understand that human being, or try to understand. So intelligence for me is about understanding.
But that's got to be an inside-out thing, though, doesn't it? I mean, you got to have the relationship with yourself first from a relationship quotient point of view, before you can be effectively having a relationship quotient experience on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or by how much you have a good relationship with yourself, perhaps.
And a lot of that is about working on one's own self-judgment, looking at reactions, projections, judgments. They're the 3 key things I work on, personally. But they're also the things I'm continually working on when I meet another human being. Is not to react, not to judge them, and not to project my stuff onto them. So if I can continually
your stuff, what would you say your stuff is for the layman?
Well, it could be judgment around my judgment of them are being better than me, in some way, professionally better, financially better, relationship, or whatever it is I project of my insecurity or my lack of belief in myself, because that's what projection usually is. I'm projecting an aspect of myself that I don't believe in or I haven't achieved. So I project it onto another through jealousy is a big one, through insecurity is another one. So the more I work on that, Tommy, the more I get in terms of my understanding of self or my intelligence of myself. I can then start to meet the other in a less reactive way, less judgmental way, and a less projective way, which means I'm not in conflict with that person. And if they've done the same, if they've done the inner work too, and we meet as 2 souls, having done lots of inner work, we get into more of a harmonic radiance with each other, less conflict, and we actually meet in a really nice harmonious place.
Right.
But it takes work, and a team who's in harmony, something magic happens on the field.
Right.
And we saw it with one of the teams last night. You know, the other team were pretty close, but
Yeah, we touch a bit of spirit throughout the game, but you guys had more hold on the spiritualogical than perhaps the GC team did. They're still young. They're still.
Yeah, I think we had the clock going for us, mate. Because another 2 minutes, it could have been a whole nother game.
Yeah, it only needed that one straight kick.
Yeah.
But to your point, I mean, so and look, this is no big news to the corporate world or people in general that have some idea of living a somewhat full life, that working together is a lot smarter or intelligent than not, and especially a lot better than actually fighting each other.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
At the other extreme. So, but then the spiritual thing, and I don't know how much sporting teams get into this these days, but I would dare say, and if I was a betting man, I'd put money on the fact that the best performing teams out there have actually gone into the spiritualogical side of this to perform. And so how are some of the ways that could happen, where you've got a team of people, and the corporate world's a metaphor for this, or the metaphor, the team's a metaphor for the corporate world or any organization. How do you get them where they'd be used to sort of like, especially football teams, because it's pretty basic, get some of those knuckle dragging games, I won't name the code as well, that are just thumping the crap out of each other, and you're thinking, where's the spiritualogical thing there? Although, let's take the All Blacks maybe as an example, because I feel spirit there, but how does it manifest?
Yeah, well, a lot of that is culture as well, isn't it, with the All Blacks? Because a lot of that is around the Maori culture.
Right.
Yeah, I know it's New Zealand, but a lot of that footy team and the essence of that, there's a huge Maori influence. And of course, with the Maori influence, there's a huge spiritual connection with those people and spirit and land. So in terms of that particular case with the All Blacks, yes, I know it's New Zealand, but there's been a huge influence from that Maori culture.
Right.
The haka, like that's a spiritual presentation at the beginning of each match.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's highly spiritual. They get into that cry.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the St. Kilda song, well, when the saints go marching in. I mean, that in itself, that's their mantra.
Right.
And they play to sing that at the end of the game. Like that's the finale. That's the finale. They get in the change room and they sing that song. So that's, for me, that's like their hymn. That's their spiritual song.
So that's the connection. That's the uniting feeling. We went to battle together, whether that was some sort of like work. We have a proposal due in 2 days, and 40 people worked on it day and night, and they came out of it at the end, out of the bunker, or out of the what do you call it? What do they used to fight in? The trenches, out of the trench. And we did this together as brothers. There's something deeper, even deeper than the team that works together. But there's something else. There's something else that unites and gets them in that state of flow as well during the game.
It's almost like a vision mission statement, that song. It's what they hold together as their united vision. Right. It brings them into circle, if you like. Because when they stand to sing the song, they're back to the oldest thing on the planet for humans is sit around a fire in a circle, and they're sitting around that song in a circle. So we're back to that unifying circle again, which of course the circle means one, because there's no hierarchy in a circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is where networks and centers rather than hierarchies. And I think I touched on this in the last one, where I see it changing, into that more that sort of form, right? McKinsey's do. I mean, the corporate world trusts McKinsey's. They're smarter than me, right? But anyway, All right. So how then can organizations, let's still use the sporting metaphor, and if you like, when the Saints go marching in, to become conscious of that, how could they actually use it further to step up the game, so to speak?
Yeah. So one image around that, Tommy, is to come back to circle, to try and break away from the hierarchy. Yeah.
Right.
At times, not continue, because the hierarchical system still is in place in that corporate business space.
Yeah.
There's still the boss and there's still, top dog down. But for some time, can that be allowed to break away for a little while? And can the staff come into a space, into a safe space, into circle, where they can actually communicate with a relationship intelligence of understanding? So it's back to understanding again for me. Can we start to understand that, one person in this division, another person in this division, another person in this division, we're all human beings. We all have the same needs.
Right.
We all have the same needs. The physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual needs, the financial needs, the relationship, intimate needs. We're all the same as humans. It's just that, somebody's got a more expensive tie on or a more expensive car or a better salary. At the end of the day, we're still in that same unique space of being human with the same needs. And if we can understand that and share that with each other and share the needs of compassion and understanding and connection and communication, I think that's where the paradigm shift is in business.
There is the goal.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've seen it when the way that the corporate world has operated is objective data, hard data. No, you're wrong. I'm right. Here's the answer. Right. So let's emotionally feel positive and move forward on that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the way it fucking happens.
No. Meanwhile, the guy that's been put down, goes off to the bar to have a couple of whiskeys to get over it, and then goes home and has to deal with his partner and the kids, and meanwhile he's carrying
EVO water on this guy after that, right? And then next door neighbor's got COVID and whatever else. So, I mean, once again, the corporate world is ripping itself off, not getting ripped off, ripping itself off by having those sorts of cultures that operate in that way, and leaving so much on the table that if people then started to show empathy and compassion, right, and things I had to become more aware of, in the later parts of my career, to be able to get the most, not out of it, but to just do the right thing and be rewarded accordingly. So how could they, are there ways, and I'm sort of just thinking as we go here, that could be implemented to start bringing change about in that fashion?
So for me, Tommy, having worked with a few organizations, of creating that vision mission statement,
right?
Not by the CEO, not by somebody's just clever words, but bring the whole staff in, and create a space, a workshop space, where everybody has input on what that vision or mission is. And when that happens, and I've done that with quite a few smaller organizations where the staff have been there. I use a bit of energy flow in that as well, in terms of finding the right word, a bit of muscle testing or penduluming, and with the group. And
how do they go with that?
Love it. People love magic, mate. People love magic.
They love magic, don't they? Right.
We saw some last night. The Metricon Stadium.
The kick from Rankin.
Yeah, that was pretty magic, but the win was even more magic, But the reality is, people love magic. People love to engage in creative process when they let that left brain thinking going. So for instance, and we did it ourselves. We did the vision statement for the CAP. You and I spent some time, and it was profound.
Yeah.
And we did that energetically. We worked out what was the right,
And keeping it simple, so bloody hard to do. Kept it simple.
Yeah.
So
create the vision or the mission, and then get some code of conduct happening. What's in the code of conduct of the organization in terms of that relationship? What is the right way to communicate intelligently so that we can have that sense of understanding and compassion and connection?
Right.
So how can that be put in the principles of the organization?
Okay. So what you've got, I mean, involvement equals commitment, right? You've got everybody involved in defining this. This isn't something that's
Yes.
been imposed on you at this stage. And once, because we have to communicate as human beings and we're limited by the fact that it has to be through voice and written word and so on, right? And then there's that communication that's nonverbal, and the feeling and things that people do, and then watching and observing. So how do we get people to start to not just act, but be in that different way of operating and the place that they're coming from, right? Their drivers starting to change. This is where it starts to get a challenge. And this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but are there things that can be done to start to draw people out from the heart as a team?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is leadership, Tommy. This is where, we still bring in that hierarchical structure of the leader, but that leader starts to work more effectively by bringing some of that resources into the organization, into the company, into the corporate space.
Right.
By having that effective leadership, we're saying, look, we're gonna be changing this organization. We're gonna be changing the way we move forward. I'm gonna take that role as a leader effectively. I'm gonna do some of my own work. I'm gonna go off and find my own coach and do my own spiritual personal development work. I'm gonna bring some of that back into the organization. So I'm gonna drip feed it down from what I've learned, myself as a leader. And start to use some of those learnings and teachings for the whole staff. That, for me, because if the leader doesn't do the work, nobody will do the work. So you still have to. So it's almost like we've
the center rather than the hierarchy, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit of the symbol that we're trying to create for our CAP logos. You've got that outer circle, which represents unity, but you still have that triangle inside that still represents the hierarchical.
Right.
Yeah, on some level, but they're connected. So you have the hierarchy within the circle.
Right.
Because we still can't move away from hierarchy. We're still in that paradigm.
Right. I mean,
but we can transition. We can transition.
Right. Right. And I think that's where things are at right now.
Yeah.
And if we look at this on a planetary level, a lot of cracks are appearing in a lot of systems that have existed that were brought about by whatever forces. And now there's an opportunity, the same as the golfer that can't lift his game and he has to break his grip and his game is crap for a while all the muscle memory goes all over the place and says, what is going on? To the state of chaos, to then, the forming, storming, norming thing, to then being able to, okay, this is starting to feel right now. The muscle memory is starting to come in. I'm not having to think about this so much. These parts are starting to work, to put them on a new platform for growth into the future. And I think the world is breaking its golf hand grip right now.
Yeah. And it is like things are breaking down. And this is where that relationship intelligence from the leaders, the thought leaders, the corporate leaders, the business leaders, social leaders on the planet can really come to their fore and bring that relationship intelligence in through understanding.
Yeah.
Through understanding. It's for me, that's where it's got to be there. That for me, that's the height of intelligence, is understanding self and the other.
Seek first to understand and then to be understood, I think was Covey's statement. Or what was the one from Teddy Roosevelt? No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And so that is where I don't want to judge it, say screwed up. That's the part that we just haven't tapped into. And ego and holding on to this separatist type of approach to life rather than the essence and the gold is actually in connecting up. And connecting not just on an intellectual level of something external from both of you, but something that's internal in both of you that you can both feel and feeling each other.
Yeah. And this is a little bit that the AFL and any sport or team sport and the corporate space do share. That's always a bit of a challenge, and that's the need to win. So even in AFL, the ultimate is to go and win and get the flag. There's a winner and a loser. So we're still in the winner and loser paradigm.
Yeah.
And I don't know if, from a competitive perspective, I think if it's done well, it's healthy, but when it's not done well, it's unhealthy. And AFL to some degree some weeks it feels like it's healthy, and some weeks, if one's on the losing streak, doesn't feel healthy.
Right. And this is where I think some of the smart teams, though, have gone with, okay, all we want you to do is to go out there and play your best game.
Yeah.
Almost don't worry about the competition. Like in life, life will come at you.
Yeah.
But if you're playing your better internal game,
Yeah.
right, regardless almost of attaching to that end result of the win, which is stressful, that you can be happy in that you went and played your best game today. You improved. You got better. And you didn't respond in the way that you normally, angrily or whatever, if it's a situation between two people. That way you are improving. And as you improve, you're going to get better, and the competition will start to get left behind, I guess, if you want to call them competition.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And there's a really interesting one. Let's take soccer, for instance. Okay, you have a competition. The World Cup. Say the World Cup. 64 teams, and it gets narrowed down, and you have the final. Yeah, and you have the winner that gets, if you like, gold, and the runner-up gets silver. But then you get another two teams who play for third place, who get the bronze. Yeah. Now, the team that win the bronze medal and come third celebrate more than the team that came second.
Oh.
Because they get a sense of winning, not losing. Because people who get the silver medal lose to the gold.
Right.
But the one that gets the bronze,
got a medal.
They win over the fourth place, who gets nothing.
Right.
It's a very interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
Even though the second, the silver medal is, more precious than the bronze, from a hierarchical perspective. Yeah. But in the win moment, those that get the bronze celebrate more than those that get the silver.
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting psychological phenomenon to understand about human beings.
Yeah.
The need to win.
The need to win.
Because on that podium, that one that got the bronze medal, by beating the fourth place one, would be more enthused than the one who had the silver, who lost to the one who got the gold.
Yeah.
In a team, not so much in individuality, but certainly in team.
Yeah.
That's the way it plays out. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, the middle child. Wow. Okay.
So some, maybe play for bronze, not for silver in your life. That might be a
right.
Yeah.
And go and enjoy the trip, the journey.
Yeah.
Isn't that what it was all about? That end bit. Listening to Nat Cook talk the other day, and anybody that's in personal development should have read this line, that we seem to need to be reminded so that we can actually start to play it out this way.
Yeah.
That you are supposed to be enjoying the journey along the way.
Yeah.
Which means a human being, not a human doing mindset, right? Yeah. And so that's what it's about, is that journey. I mean, for me, when I was doing triathlon and stuff, I went with the mindset of not to, I'm going to beat my last time and whatever else. I went firstly because I wanted to participate. I just wanted to go and do it.
Yeah.
Right. Because it got me actually in the zone, and there's a place I could find some sanctuary in doing that. So you get in that zone, which is cool. But leading up to it, all that work and enjoying that was all about it. The last part was actually a little bit of dessert. Didn't put my stress on it, any sort of stress on myself, just to participate. And I was happy that I got there, but it was all about everything that happened beforehand.
Yeah. Always, yeah. But the feeling of completion, getting that win, is just part of being human in some sense. And how do we do that in a more effective way in business, so that we're not just looking at, winning in terms of having more money or getting the winning to get the contract. The new ways now of working collaboratively is the key, I think, in this new paradigm we're stepping into. How do we work more collaboratively within the team, within the organization, but also outside of the organization? How do we can start to be, less competitive, so it's a win-win-win for more
Right.
rather than win-lose.
Right.
That's how we have to think about going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the world's right at that point right now where it's going to struggle a bit. You know, we could be seeing some very interesting geopolitical tectonic plates starting to shift right now. You don't have to mention who are the two big ones right now that are kind of like puffing up the chest, right? And that's going to come to something in future, I think. You know, what I on the other side of whatever that may be, I see good news and bringing together of humanity.
Yeah, and that's the focus, isn't it? Sure, that is the win-win, isn't it? That the humanity will come together through understanding.
Yeah.
But you know, but when one looks around the world at the conflict, it's hard to imagine that ever stopping. You know, but I do live in hope for that. But wow, what a journey ahead of us to do that. I mean, just the arms industry, the weapons industry.
Yeah.
You know, across the planet. I mean, that's how do we ever stop that juggernaut from happening?
Well, it's humans that are making that happen, right?
Yeah. How do we stop poverty on the planet?
Well, this is the thing, and when you get something called CV19, that becomes a common enemy for all.
Yeah.
For all. I mean, that next to we have extraterrestrials trying to blow up the planet, perhaps. I don't know, but
this is next week. Next week's news.
I mean, next week. Yeah. Oh my God. That's it. Oh my God. Can you imagine?
This is just preparation for the big mothership arriving, mate.
But look, we are in that same situation. It is an alien that happens to be a microbe virus thing, you know, as it's called at the moment. And if there's any time for humanity to get together and get out of their own way, this is it.
Yeah. And can we find that compassion and understanding for two sides of the equation? Because there are those, you know, with the COVID, there's those that are, you know, living in fear of that, and are, you know, from my words, you know, buying into that fear and being affected by that in the mind. And there's others, you know, like myself a little bit, who have chosen not to engage in it, not to buy into the fear of it, go about my business as per usual. And how do I still have compassion for those that are caught up in that space who haven't maybe got that other opinion or other idea around it, but also how do they have compassion for me for being different from them? So how do we work together in that space without the judgment, you know, without the reaction to the projections? Because I know I have it, you know, I still have a bit of judgment around that. How do we work as collectively to break that down so we can have some intelligence around relationship understanding?
So there it is. You know, it's heart led, right?
Yeah. Heart, but also for me, it's using my mind well, and my heart well, and my willingness well.
Right, aligning.
Yeah. So the head, the heart, and the will for me every time.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
But this
because
time the heart gets to talk this time, though.
It does, but it needs the intelligence.
Yes.
To put it into place.
Yep. Heart knows, mind thinks.
Yeah.
They need to work together, and it's not just run by the mind's ego anymore.
Yeah.
Heart needs to be listened to, and they need to talk, and they need to work it out and get aligned on what's right.
Yeah. So that once again, there's a relationship intelligence between the head and the heart and the will.
Yeah.
So if we can bring those three aspects of our intelligence together, then we can relate in a better way. So for me, to sum it up, I suppose, in terms of relationship, understanding and intelligence, it's connecting the thinking, the feeling, and the willing.
Right.
That would bring that relationship into alignment.
And so when you do that, then you got the spiritualogical piece, which is what then? How would somebody picture that piece?
Well, for me, the spiritual can't happen unless I'm connected with my thinking, my feeling, and my willing. Because if I'm out of alignment in those aspects, the spirit can't land, because there's too much confusion for it to go, well, I can't land in this copula, I can't land in this body or this mind. or this heart, or this will and this courage, unless they're in alignment.
There it is.
It's like you got to dock the rocket up for the rocket to take off. Like everything's got to be in alignment.
Right.
Otherwise the rocket can take off. Everything's got to be totally in alignment. And if we bring that back, if we bring the microcosmic to the macro, from the human being to business, everything in the business has to be lined up.
Right.
The intelligence from the mind, the intelligence from the heart, but the intelligence in terms of the doing, the will as well.
Right. And doing the doing while being present.
Yeah.
Being the human being, not just a human doing, which we've kind of been trapped in.
Yeah, yeah. And that's, for me, that's when the teamwork comes in, Tommy, in terms of organizations of business, where there's more than one set of eyes looking down, trying to make all the decisions. Is where do you get your team of intelligence in terms of that people relationship?
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about people relationship here, relationship intelligence. That forms, if you like, the mastermind group.
Right.
Yeah. How do you get that intelligence?
And like I said with RQ, integrity, compassion, all those qualities, empathy, etc., all being there and being exercised and being used. Yeah. So, versus the must win at all costs, putting the ego in its place. Good if it's aligned, like you said, heart and mind, fine, but using these other values for everybody to win more by connecting.
Yeah. There's a classic moment, isn't there, in AFL when the team are running down the field and the ball's being passed, and it's like everybody's in sync, and one of the players doesn't engage his ego. He may have an opportunity for goal to say, let's say a 30% chance.
Yep.
But out of his periphery, he sees another player where he knows from experience that he's got a 60% chance. Now, passing that ball off to that other player in that moment is remarkable to watch, the energy.
Right.
Because the ego will be going, kick the ball, kick the ball, kick the ball, kick the ball.
Right.
Glory, fame, you can do it. Yeah. But the team spirit in that moment is, I'm going to pass the ball to my team player to take the glory.
For the greater good.
For the greater good. That's not an easy choice.
No, it's not. The ego doesn't like letting go of that stuff.
That's not easy. So in terms of relationship intelligence in AFL, I'd say that moment defines it.
It's collective. It's collective intelligence.
Yeah. And in that moment, let go of the ego.
Yep.
And handball or kick the ball to your team player who's got a 60% chance rather than my 30. I'd say that would be a really good description of relationship intelligence or relationship quota in AFL.
Right. Yeah. And
it summarizes that.
How you can actually see that team flow when it happens, going up the field and they're passing, and the guy's got the lead, and it's like watching harmony, music work together. And I'm just trying to think of, if I'm running down the ground and I'm thinking, I could go for it, or the other sense I'm feeling is a sense of intuition, a sense of feeling, and
connection.
The collective objective is to get the goal, but it's best for me to hand it off to that guy there, right? And you're coming from a different place and space to do that. Yeah.
Do you imagine bringing that back into the business field? If you take business as an oval with all those players in play and the umpires and the everything that's going on with the spectators or the customers, if you like, the clients, that flow, bringing that into the business space is a great goal in itself.
And this is where people have got to become bigger than the system.
Yeah.
That ain't easy. And breaking the culture, but one for me too, thanks. But just to lubricate the voice there, look like a whole chunk of olive oil.
Bit of honey and lemon in there, don't it?
So, but to get that well-oiled machine is to be working in that fashion as one, a collective intelligence.
Yeah. Exactly. Is what you and I do in this space of trying to bring the CAP, the Corporate Alchemist Project, together. When we met for a weekend, and we entered into that connection intelligence space. We brought in the thinking, the feeling, and the will. We formed something that had been sitting there brewing. And now we've gone live with it. We're doing this CAP TV every week. We're starting to build the groups on LinkedIn, and maybe just looking at the ticker tape underneath it. Two opportunities. Tommy, do you want to share a little bit of those two opportunities about coming to get on board with us on CAP? Join this incredible team.
Absolutely. We've got the Corporate Alchemist page, which people can go to and watch this. And then the other thing is come to LinkedIn and knock on the door of the Corporate Alchemist Project group, and we will we make sure that we've got people that are ready to come in because of the approach that we tend to take in there, and a lot of content that's exclusive to the group as well. And that's the two ways really to connect in. And we will be coming out with Mr. Hanks in the not so distant future Are
you ready for me?
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, with the video series, which
there it is. Yeah,
we'll be putting together very, very soon. We just need to, get that happening. We're gonna, bring in the intelligence of the mind and the heart, and then the will to do it, which will be a great new program for people to engage with, to bring some of that alchemy into the business, into their lives, of how to practically bring it in.
Yeah,
because we can go from the mindset of how to do it in our minds, but to do the practical application, that does take the will, that does take another intelligence, and to be guided on that is what we're going to bring in, some guidance and some support in the space to help people to break through into this new paradigm. And I'm really excited about that, Tommy.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Trying to put a bridle and saddle on both of us, doing. I don't envy the recording crew for that one. And it's going to be like herding cats for sure. So, and then we've got the retreat that'll be coming up down the track as we, to give line of sight, which we've already drafted most of that up in the concept.
Luckily we didn't organise something for this month, next month, because with the New South Wales Queensland border closed here in Australia, it would have been pretty hard to coordinate those two retreats, because we know there's two spaces for that retreat, one in Queensland, one in New South Wales, and
oh my God, there is too. Yeah, for
the initial retreat.
Yeah, although we could have been out at sea, but we would have got in trouble.
There's still a border.
Yeah, well, this is true. And geez, today she's looking pretty wild and woolly today out there right now. I don't know about your end of the beach.
I'm looking out the window now, and the grey cloud is filled the sky. There was a bit of blue there half an hour ago, but there's no blue sky anymore. It's all grey.
We've got a lot of wind and rain happening right now on the not so Gold Coast. So, all right. Well, I guess we can sort of land this one around here, Adrian. But before we do, coming up, we have next week the. I've done it to you again, haven't I? We're going to be.
So next week we're going into spiritual intelligence and
spiritual quotient. Absolutely. That's it.
And that's back into that big field of the quantum world. And how do we bring that spiritual? We touched on it a little bit today. Next week we'll be delving, very deeply into that spiritual realm of the spiritualogical, and I'm really looking forward to bringing that into the space, Tommy. I'm really quite excited about that.
That's really up in the game.
And also, just for a plug, Tommy, this time next week. I'll be preparing for my book launch on the Goldie.
You will. The book launch of the title
2084 novel.
And is it? Can you let it? Is it actually a sequel, or you can't tell us?
Well, what it is, it's been inspired by
Right.
My
Mr.
work and study and reading of George Orwell's 1984.
Right.
So
Terrific.
I read 1984 in 1984 whilst living in Berlin.
Oh, wow.
And got inspired to adapt that and take that from an old paradigm perspective of Big Brother, if you like,
Yep.
into the future of 2084, into that new paradigm that we're talking about. So in my novel, I've actually created that new paradigm of living in a peaceful, harmonious, new utopia. And that's what the book is about, living in this new utopian world. So I've gone from the old world of Big Brother, spanning 100 years in a very connective way in terms of different generations having to break through and create this new paradigm. And suddenly here we are in 2084 in this new harmonious paradigm in a new space where there is no conflict and war and people are living in peace and harmony.
Oh, wow.
It's a very inspiring book, hopefully, to inspire people to get to that place in the next, few decades.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to the event, reading the book as well to get inside your head and your vision of where you see that going. That'll be pretty exciting, and especially for it to be a euphoric type of vision that you have. And okay, and so where also can people, because we both do our own stuff independently apart from the Corporate Alchemist project, but where else can people connect up with you, Adrian?
Yeah, well, particularly if they want to go and connect up with, purchasing a copy of the book or booking in to come to the book launch if you're in Queensland.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go to www.adrianhanks.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also find me on LinkedIn, adrianhanks.com as well.
Okay.
Or Adrian Hanks on LinkedIn. And
Okay.
connect with me that way. And come and check out my my coaching, my counselling, my psychotherapy. Have a few programs and different things on there. And just come have a browse through. And I say, and if you're on the Goldie and you want to spend some time with me, just shout me dinner and lunch and come and spend some time and pick my brains.
There we go. Come and pick his brains. Yeah. And give him some curry the next time that the Saints don't win a game.
Game against Geelong on Monday, mate. We win that, we might go top of the table.
Oh, my Lord. I'll never hear the end of it unless you maybe fortunately lose your voice again.
Tommy, where can people reach you, my friend, as well? What's happening here?
Well, thank you for asking, Mr. Hanks. Well, they can come to www.biotechexec.net. And that's where we have a landing page for the Biotech Exec program. My, what do you call it, authority site, if you want to call it, the business card is on tommygallant.com. Relatively static site, gives a bit more about my background. But aside from that, LinkedIn, Tommy Gallant, if you can search on that, and Tommy Gallant on Facebook. Feel free to hit me up and we can discuss. In fact, I was discussing with a CEO today, looking to come onto the program. We have an executive lifestyle assessment on the biotechexec.net page, which you can complete. And that entitles you to a free 20 to 30 minutes strategic health lifestyle assessment and seeing where things might be a little bit out of balance. And energy, lack of, exhaustion, stress, lack of fulfillment tend to be ones that come up way too often. And we believe we have something that can change that. So that's where they can find me. Thank you, Adrian, for asking.
Fantastic, mate. And just to complete, I've just got one more thing I just want to add to the ticker tape on the bottom here.
Yes. Oh God, go the Saints. Well, it is Freedom Friday, and
exactly. And I've got control of the ticker, so I've got freedom to type what I want.
Right, just to rub it in a little further. Yeah, it's all about the win happening here.
All right. It's all about the win.
All in good fun.
All right. Good faith. And Tommy, like we always do on Cap TV, mate, it's about bringing some fun and joy into the place, isn't it?
Joy, absolutely. Not enough of that. And bringing people together in the corporate world specifically, but really in the world, in the planet, in the universe at some stage too.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Mr. Hanks, for giving the time and the curry that came with that. And
and just because
hope,
I'm a good sport, mate. Just because I'm a good sport. I got one more thing to add.
Oh God! Don't tell me there's another bloody ticker you're going to put on there.
I'll just
go the Suns! Go the Suns! my new team. Sorry, Crows. But all good things must come to an end, and it hasn't been good for a damn long time. And regardless, I now live here in the beautiful Gold Coast, so I should be supporting the local team. Yes, temporarily, some are local teams as well.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, guys. Thanks again, Mr. Hanks, and have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you next time.
Certainly will. See you, mate.